With football season upon us now, there's a lot happening in the news, so be sure to subscribe to my other channel, JG9 News, where I give you up-to-the-minute updates on everything happening in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, and I give my thoughts on everything taking place around the National Football League today. And now, on with our feature presentation. September 1st, 2024. It's week 1 of a brand new college football season, and we find ourselves in Sin City over at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas for this neutral site battle between two top 25 teams in the USC Trojans and the LSU Tigers. This is a big game for both of these teams, but especially for USC in what is their first game as members of the Big Ten Conference. No one quite knows what to make of USC this year. On one hand, they're in a tougher conference, and they lost their former Heisman-winning quarterback in Caleb Williams. But on the other hand, they are still USC. They have a quarterback in Miller Moss who was exceptional last year at the Holiday Bowl, and looks like he can command the offense well. And they have a schedule where, on paper, if they can take care of business in the games they're supposed to win, and just go 500 against the toss-up opponents, with this being one of them, they can make the playoff. It starts with a win in this game, though, and it goes against an LSU team in a similar position, having lost its Heisman-winning quarterback to the NFL, with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels going 1-2 in the draft, oddly enough. USC really can't afford in a game like this to make any coaching mistakes that could deny them a chance at points, because this is the kind of game where points are going to be at a premium. As we're about to find out, yeah, so much for that. With the score tied at 10, USC drives down the field after some questionable clock management, but nevertheless, the Trojans find themselves at the 19-yard line with 9 seconds left and a timeout. Alright, you're in a great spot here. You don't need to get any closer for a field goal, because you're inside the red zone, so we know your kicker can reach, especially in these conditions. You've got some receivers who have been balling, and you've got a quarterback who is extremely accurate. You have time for one more play to take a shot at the end zone, get yourselves a touchdown right before the halftime break, and then come out of the locker room with the ball and really put your foot on the gas. One shot to the end zone, and if it doesn't work out, you line up for the extremely makeable field goal. One shot to the end zone to get the touchdown, and you...
Time for a shot to the end zone, if they want it. Instead, they'll try to run again. Marks tried to slip one tackle.
You ran the ball there? You ran the ball? But why? Why would you run the ball? That changed nothing about your current situation. You took it from a makeable field goal to a makeable field goal. What does running the ball do there? I got nothing. I genuinely got nothing. Like, that's insane. All right, this was going to be a dumb decision either way, but now I've got to know if he actually made the field goal, because even though this was stupid and was going to be a video regardless, I can't even imagine if he actually missed this kick, and it looks even stupider in hindsight than it did at the start.
It is on the way, and he missed.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of a college head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of USC head coach Lincoln Riley. You can't deny the fact that Riley is a quarterback guru. He can seemingly grow quarterbacks on trees that play at a Heisman caliber level. However, from an in-game management perspective, he is most definitely not a guru. This is the Lincoln Riley experience. The in-game management here at the end of the first half was appalling, to the point where I'm genuinely shocked that it did not cost USC the game. There was the fact that he didn't call a timeout after getting a stop on third down, thereby letting 40 seconds tick off the clock for no reason. There was the fact that he let 20 seconds go off the clock on the drive before calling timeout, so he literally let 1 minute go off without calling a play, which could have come in handy here. But at least you could somewhat defend those decisions if you really try hard enough. I can't possibly defend this run. I just can't. This was terrible. And yes, at the end of the day, this did not matter because the Trojans won. but that still does not exempt it from an episode of dumb decisions. If I jump off a bridge without a bungee cord, and I survive without breaking any bones in my body, it still doesn't change the fact that what I did was really freaking stupid, and more often than not, would have had me seriously injured or killed. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a running play with 9 seconds left inside the 20-yard line without taking a shot to the end zone is a really bad idea. Again, with 9 seconds left before you have to kick the field goal, you have time for one play. Now, there are times in this spot where you do run the ball. It applies in one of two situations. Number one, you're just trying to get into closer field goal range because right now, you're on the borderline of a field goal, and you want to make it an easier kick. Let's say you're at the 35-yard line, and you run the ball because you think this increases your chance of getting inside a 50-yard kick. And if you take a sack or a holding penalty, you're out of field goal range. Or number two, you want to kill the clock to prevent the other team from touching the ball again, a la a tied game at the end of the second half, where you want to kick the field goal with 2 seconds left instead of 7, so you don't have to kick it off and potentially risk something crazy. In those situations, a run makes sense, and we see it all the time. But in this situation, in this one, inside the red zone at the 19-yard line, tell me how many of those scenarios apply here. Seriously, tell me how any of those scenarios apply here. Option 1, you're running the ball to make it a closer field goal, and you assume that a run is going to go for 3 to 4 yards. You're in a freaking dome! There's no difference in a dome between what would be a 36-yard field goal and about a 32-yard field goal. There is no difference whatsoever. Your kicker is reaching from either distance, so that's not an issue in the slightest bit. It's not like the difference between a 58-yard field goal and a 55-yard field goal. We know that your kicker can hit from 36 yards out distance-wise if it comes down to that via an incomplete pass. This is a kicker that has hit from 48 before and has made a crap ton of kicks beyond 40 yards in way worse conditions. The extra points and the 22-yard kick that Michael Lance made were effortless, and it would have been good from 36. Maybe I get a run here if the wind was brutal, but in a dome where you know your kicker can reach? No reason to run the ball here if that's what you're trying for. Anything inside 40 yards for a power 4 kicker in a dome is not a matter of whether or not the kicker can reach. So I don't get what the logic was here for Lincoln Riley by calling the run. Option 2, you want to run the ball to kill the clock to prevent the other team from touching the ball again. Guess what? That doesn't apply either. There's 9 seconds on the clock. A field goal is guaranteed to take 5 seconds off the clock per the rules of the game. So as long as the play takes a minimum of 4 seconds to go from 9 to 5, you won't let LSU touch the ball. But guess what? Every play minus a spike or a kneel down will take 4 seconds at least. Every play where the intent is to get yardage will take 4 seconds minimum. And even in the rare scenario that a play only takes 3 seconds and gets it from 9 to 6, you decide to kick a field goal right then and there, you're just going to kick it off out of the back of the end zone anyways, and LSU is going to take a knee. So even if this was a bizarre concern for you, and even if you thought that a play to the end zone from the 19-yard line would only take 3 seconds, it was a completely moot point. Either your field goal was going to be the last play of the first half, or LSU was just going to take a knee at the end of the first half. So your concerns were completely unfounded. This is not as though it was 3rd and 12 with 45 seconds left and LSU had no timeouts. And a run here would ensure the fact that you touched the ball last. But an incomplete pass here could actually give the opposition a chance at doing something if you give it back to them. There is nothing, literally nothing that LSU can do here. The purpose of the run is to get closer and kill clock when you don't need to get closer because it's not a matter of distance when it's inside 40 yards and in a dome, and when you don't need to kill clock because your field goal is going to be the last play regardless. Therefore, there was no purpose. This play served no purpose whatsoever. It was completely insignificant. Why not throw the ball here? Seriously, why not take a shot at the end zone? What do you honestly have to lose? Are you worried about a turnover when your quarterback has played well, has only thrown 3 incomplete passes, minus the spike, and hasn't turned it over yet or thrown any passes thus far that were even remotely close to being turnovers? Best case scenario is you score a touchdown. Worst case scenario is you line up for a makeable field goal. Even if you take a sack, you're nowhere in the border territory by any means where a sack gets you out of field goal range. The difference between a 36-yard field goal and a 41-yard field goal in a dome at this level is marginal at best, while the difference between a touchdown and a field goal is way more than marginal. The best case scenario if you run the ball is you line up for a closer field goal, because you're not getting a 19-yard touchdown run. At the very least, a 19-yard touchdown run is orders of magnitude less likely than a 19-yard touchdown pass where a guy is going to be running into the end zone. The worst case scenario if you run the ball is that you get stuffed in the backfield or get nothing, in which case it's the same as if you had thrown an incomplete pass. So the worst case scenarios are practically identical, but the best case scenario by throwing is significantly better than the best case scenario by running. With that in mind, which option would you rather take? Of course you're taking the option where you throw the ball. You take the better best case scenario if the worst case scenarios are identical. You'd be crazy not to. You'd be absolutely moronic not to. And yet, that's what Lincoln Riley did here. That's what Lincoln freaking Riley decided to do here for some reason unbeknownst to man. Actually, scratch that. He did give a response. One reporter asked him about the play, and one reporter asked him why he didn't take a shot to the end zone. And Riley thought it was a question of hindsight bias, because he responded by saying, when you miss it, there always is. Which, I mean, yeah, if you walk away from the drive with 0 points, of course you're going to think about what could have been different. Because basically any drive in a tie game where you walk away empty-handed is a failure and is a win for the other team. But this isn't a matter of hindsight bias. I'd still be criticizing the move even if the field goal was made. Yes, your kicker ended up missing the chip shot, but at the college level with a Power 4 kicker, anything inside 40 in perfect weather conditions like a dome should not be an issue. You took it from an extremely makeable field goal within his range to an extremely makeable field goal within his range when you could have gone for it and not lost out on the makeable field goal opportunity, and you could have walked away with a touchdown. And when you compound that with the abysmal clock management on the drive, where USC should have had way more plays to work with than what they did, yeah, that's bad. That's just really bad no matter how you want to slice it. It looked bad in real time, and it looked bad afterwards when he actually missed it and when USC walked away empty-handed. Because the only reason you do this if you don't trust your quarterback to not turn it over, or you don't trust your kicker to make a field goal from inside 40 yards in a dome, is, well, nothing. I can't figure this out for the life of me. None of those reasons apply here. It didn't make any sense. I got nothing. I just don't. So what do we learn from all of this? If you have a chance to take a shot at the end zone, and it will involve no risk whatsoever from a clock management perspective, then do it. If you have a chance to take a shot at the end zone, and it will involve no risk whatsoever from the perspective of changing anything regarding a field goal, how makeable it is for a kicker at this level, especially from a distance standpoint, and how the kicker strikes the ball, then do it. Basically, in a tie game at the end of the first half, if the worst case scenario in one option is the same as the best case scenario in another option, and you're guaranteed a chance at 3 points either way, and a very good chance at 3 points I might add, then you might as well try for 7, especially if getting closer on a field goal will make no difference whatsoever. It's like playing Jeopardy when you have the daily double, and it's the final question, and your opponents have 5,000 each, and you've got 9,000. There's no reason not to bet 1,001 and go for the home run right then and there when betting 0 would change nothing about what happens next, and even if you lose the bet, nothing changes whatsoever. Because I promise you, if a kicker misses from the 19-yard line, he was going to miss it from however close you ended up getting on a run. And if it doesn't make sense to run because nothing changes, then you probably should not run the ball. You probably shouldn't be wasting plays like this in the red zone in a tie game. Just a thought. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.